What's up, family? Man, I bless each and every one of you. May God continue to guide you, keep you, comfort you, aid you in your growth and development, as well as the healing stages of your life. Family, man, we have to grow up emotionally. We have to understand that, man, life is a beautiful thing. You know what I mean? Life is very beautiful. And I get it that, man, so many people are going through, man, their rock bottom season. You know what I mean? You're going through your tower moment. You're going through your, man, everything is crumbling down around you. And, man, it seems like you can't get anything right. You can't do anything right. You know what I mean? No matter what you do, man, it goes bad. You know what I mean? Regardless of your intentions, it seems as though everything is turning, going chaotic for you. I get that, man. And that's what we're gonna talk about today. You know what I mean? Man, we got to understand that, man, although that's challenging, being at rock bottom, crashing and burning, that all sucks. You know what I mean? It sucks. It's painful. I get that. You know what I mean? But we have to understand that that's a beautiful part of our life. That's a beautiful, I can't speak. That's a beautiful part of our journey. And what I'm saying is that, man, yes, and again, I get it. I've been there. I've been there, family. I've hit rock bottom several times. And I've shared this so many times. You know what I mean? I've been homeless a couple of times. I've been hungry a couple of times. Not a couple of times. I've been hungry a lot. You know what I mean? To where I didn't have anything to eat. Or I had bare minimum to eat. I get that. I understand that. I understand the process of feeling like, man, my life fucking sucks. You know what I mean? And that is all bad, and just being depressed and suicidal and just all of that toxic stuff. I get that. When people abandon you and just, throw you to the curb and just all that, I get that. And what happens is, as we're struggling in that process, what we're really struggling with is gaining control of our ego. Stay with me. We're going to go somewhere today. Some of the hardest lessons I've had to learn, and to each their own, you know what I mean? But far as me, some of the hardest lessons I've had to learn, with hitting rock bottom so many times, is that, man, it is what it is, and the thing that hurt the most, the thing that was so embarrassing and humiliating, is the fact that, man, my ego was bruised. Anytime you get abandoned and rejected, anytime you get thrown away, that's humiliating. That's devastating to our pride. That's devastating to our sense of belonging. That's devastating to our self-esteem and just all of that. I get that. You know what I mean? But the thing that really hurts us the most, if the truth be told, is that it's a blow to our ego. That's what hurts us the most. It's our ego that's crushed. It's our ego that's offended. And now so many of us is like, I'm not egotistical, I'm not that. No, again, you know what? The truth is, you're going to keep going through this stuff. You're going to keep hitting rock bottom. You're going to keep crashing and burning until you get to the place of, man, okay, what is it? What's the lesson? I can't keep blaming everybody else. What's the lesson for me? What am I supposed to learn from this? What am I supposed to learn from these people abandoning me? What am I supposed to learn from these people rejecting me? What am I supposed to learn every time I try to start something, man, it don't work out and da-da-da. What am I supposed to get from this? How is this supposed to help me? But that's not where most of us go. Most of us go to this victim mentality. Most of us go to this place of, man, I knew I couldn't do this, and everybody told me I wouldn't be successful at this, and da-da-da-da-da. And that feeds all the negativity that we really believe about ourselves. We've been told that we weren't shit. We've been told that we wouldn't amount to anything. And so every time somebody tells us that we ain't shit, every time somebody breaks our heart, every time somebody abandons us, every time somebody rejects us, every time somebody does us wrong or ghosts us or whatever, our ego considers that confirmation that you really ain't shit. that you really don't deserve to be loved, that you really ain't nobody. And that's devastating to our ego. That's the universe, that's God's source's way of crushing our pride, crushing our ego. And we don't want to have this ego death. I get that. But in order for you to grow and be all that you're capable of being, in order for you to be that beacon of hope, that beacon of love, that beacon of light for humanity, you've got to go through this ego death. And that's devastating. It's devastating. But it's also beautiful when you grow up emotionally and understand, man, the truth is that this is making me a better person. The truth is this is giving me more wisdom. The truth is this is giving me a greater understanding of who I really am. This is giving me a greater understanding of who I want to be. Not who I am, not who everybody said I was and all this other negative, toxic stuff. It gives us an awareness of I don't want to be this person. I don't want to be negative. I don't want to be full of hate and doubt and worry and fear and low self-esteem and insecurities and all. I don't want to be this. I'm not going to be this. I'm not this. But in order for you to shake all of that negative stuff, you got to have an ego death. And you're going to keep having ego deaths until you grow up emotionally. And until you learn to say, okay, man, let me put my ego to the side. Let me gain control over my ego. Let me stop being moved by my ego. How can I learn to understand my ego to where I don't start personalizing all this and become bitter and angry and toxic and hateful and judgmental and self-righteous and all this other negative toxic stuff? You're going to keep dying over and over and over again. And what's dying is the ego. What's being crushed is your ego. To where you could come to a place where you get in alignment with God's source universe and say, man, it is what it is. It's not about all the other people. It's not about all the things that you've lost. It's about you. It's about me becoming a better person. It's about us growing into who we are supposed to be. That's the whole purpose of why we have ego deaths. That's the whole purpose of why we keep getting crushed and abandoned and rejected and kicked to the curb and mistreated and dogged the fuck out and all this other stuff. Is to crush the ego so that we can grow and evolve into the person that we came here to be. That's it. And the truth is, only you, how can I say this? Only you can extend this journey or extend this process, or you could graduate from it. There are no shortcuts. There are no getting around this. You've got to go through this process. Every single one of us. And it's hard. It's hard because we've been egotistical our entire lives. And when I say egotistical, it doesn't mean that you're proud or arrogant or cocky or any of that other stuff. Egotistical just means that, man, you're led by your ego. Whether that's your low self-esteem, your fears, your insecurities, and you walk around in this fake humility and all this other self-righteousness and all this other stupid, ignorant stuff that keeps you stuck being a slave to your ego. Your ego don't care whether you're arrogant or if you're walking around with low self-esteem. It doesn't matter to your ego. Your ego just wants to remain in control of your life. Your ego just wants to keep you a slave, keep you a prisoner. Why you go through all the devastating things you do, why you go through all the pain and the suffering you do, is to get you to a place of, I've got to learn to crush my ego. I've got to learn to take control over my ego. That's it. That's why you're going through what you're going through. That's why you're suffering the way you're suffering. That's why life is so chaotic the way it is. Because you got to go through this process. It's humiliating, it's embarrassing, and all that other stuff, and I get that. But again, understand, that's all ego. That's ego. Man, we got to grow up. We have to grow up emotionally. We have to grow up spiritually. There's nothing wrong with you going through stuff and, man, you're snotting and crying and boo-hooing and, man, just feeling broken and just feeling devastated and just like, fuck. You know what I mean? That's part of the process. That's part of the process of the ego dying, of the ego losing control over your life. What so many of us do is we fight to keep our ego in control over our life. And so we have this quote unquote nervous breakdown. We have this dark night of the soul battle. And I promise you, you're going to keep going through that stuff until your ego's finally crushed. And what I mean when your ego's finally crushed, until you're finally able to be at a place to where it's like, man, I'm not tripping. You know what I mean? I don't care who sees me going through this pain and suffering. I don't care who sees me jumping on the bus. I don't care who sees me, man, I need to borrow this and borrow that. And as I'm trying to get up on my feet, it don't matter how other people see us when we finally get to that place of, man, I am where I am and I am what I am. And man, this is where I'm at in life. And man, I can't change that. I'm not going to try to fake the funk and act like I'm better than what I am. I'm not going to fake the funk and act like I got more than what I really have. And I'm not going to try to put my best foot forward and make everybody think I'm da-da-da-da and whoop-doo-doo-whoop and blah, 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 blah. Man, I fuck all the bullshit. You know what I mean? I am what I am. I am what I am. If you are caterpillar right now, you're a motherfucking caterpillar. You can't change that. You can't get out of that until you go through that death, that burial, and the resurrection. You got to catch that. The death, the burial, and the resurrection. So that you could come out as that beautiful caterpillar. Even Jesus Christ, Yahshua, whatever you want to call him, he had to go through the same process, the death, the burial, and the resurrection. That's what that symbolizes for us. We all have to go through that process. And even Christ didn't want to go through that process. He prayed and cried until he sweated blood. It's a process known in the medical field called hematidrosis, where you're up under so much pressure, you have so much fear that it appears as though you're sweating blood. That comes from fear. That comes from pressure. Jesus cried and pleaded and begged, man, I don't want to go through this. Take this shit away from me. Man, there has to be a different way. I don't want to have to go through what I got to go through. And he finally came to a place of, man, it is what it motherfucking is. Not my will, thy will be done. Okay. I'm not going to fight against this process. I'm going to trust the process because I know that everything is always working out for me. And people are going to laugh at me and people are going to say you're fake and you're phony and da-da-da. And I thought you was all that, da-da-da. As I'm being crushed, as I'm losing everything, people are going to say what they're going to say. That ain't got shit to do with you. That's their bullshit. That's their immaturity. You can't change what people say. But because of our ego, we want people to think highly of us. We want people to see us in a good light. And it is what it is. Man, you got to go through that death, that burial, and that resurrection. Like the phoenix. We got to grow up. Man, I hope and pray that I said something to encourage you, to inspire you, to even challenge your way of thinking. I love you guys. Thank you for rocking out with me. Happy healing. Peace.